Welcome to Maths with Mr. S. In this video, we're going to read numbers up to 10 million. Let's get stuck in. So the first thing we have to be able to do is identify what all these numbers are worth up to 10 million. So if we've got our decimal point here, the number directly beside, is always the units. Then the tens and the hundreds. You want to treat this as a section of 3. The hundreds, tens and units. Then you want to treat the thousands as a section of 3. So we've got the thousands, then the tens of thousands, then the hundreds of thousands. Okay, these are a section of 3. And then we've got the millions and the 10 millions. So whenever you're thinking of it, you're thinking of 678. Yeah. Then you're thinking of 345 thousands. Okay. And then you're thinking of this as the millions as a section. 12 million. So this is millions, tens of millions, but treat it as sections of 3. But the key is knowing what each of these is worth. If you don't know what these are, you won't be able to do this type of question. So our units, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions. So let's put this knowledge into practice. So what we need to do is we need to partition this number up into its component parts. Now that simply means just taking away how many units there is, how many tens there is, how many hundreds, how many thousands, how many tens of thousands, how many hundreds of thousands, how many millions, and how many tens of millions. And you put them in each of these boxes. So you start with the beginning. Start with the units. Well, there's 8 units. And that's how you write 8. Now there's 7 tens. Now this is important. There's 7 tens, which means there's a 7 plus 1 0. 7 tens is 70. So you need to partition it with the 1 0. And there's one number after it. So it makes it very easy. The hundreds, there is 6 hundreds. But in 100, there will be 2 zeros after it. And you notice I'm just partitioning it up. So it's still the same number, except it doesn't have anything else attached to it. Now we've got our thousands. We've got 5,000. So put 5,000. And then there'll be 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. And then this is 40,000. Tens of thousands. So that's 4 tens of thousands, which means we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. And you'll notice it's just one more than it was before. So 1 0, 2 zeros, 3 zeros, 4 zeros. Now we're up to the hundreds of thousands. We have 300,000. So 300. And then you guess it, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Now we're up to the millions. Millions always has 6 zeros. There's 2 million in this. So we put our 2 and then our 6 zeros. Make sure the 6 zeros go in. Then we're up to tens of millions. And there's 1 tens of millions. If this had 6 zeros, that tens of millions has 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So very straightforward, partitioning it up into its component parts. You've got 8 units, 7 tens, 600, 5,000, 40,000, 300,000, 2 millions, 10 millions. And again, think of it as the 3 parts. So it's 3 with the hundreds, tens and units, 3 with the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and then the millions, millions, tens of millions. So let's do the same here. We'll always start with the units. It just is so much easier. It's the first number beside the decimal. So it's 3. There's no 0. And then 4 T. Then 800. Then 2,000. Need the 3 zeros. Then 90,000. Then where are we up to? 90,000. We're up to 600,000. 100,000. Then we're up to 5 million. 6 zeros. Always remember 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 zeros for million. Then finally we're up to the 3, but it's a 30 million. So 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the 7 that included. Very straightforward, partitioning it up. So here, 2 units. Easy peasy. 5 tens, 50. We don't have any hundreds. So we could leave that blank, or you could put in the zeros. Either way, there isn't any of those. They're not worth anything. 3,000s. 1, 2, 3. And then I've got 70,000. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Very important. And then I've got 500,000. my 5 zeros, and then I'm up to 8 million. Remember, 6 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then my 40 million, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you'll notice I sort of put it in. If you put commas in, by the way, that's absolutely fine. Your teacher might suggest to do that. This can help you sort of partition it up into the 3 blocks that I've talked about. Okay, so we've got commas would go in these positions. So every 3. So count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you put a comma. Doesn't have to go in, but it can help you. Now the next thing we're going to look at is very similar. We need to look at this number, and we need to put what the missing number would be, because this number is 530,397. And you can partition it up into its component blocks. And on the previous page, basically, if you add all these numbers together, it gives you the number that you've partitioned up. So we're doing the opposite here, where we have been, it's already been partitioned up, and we need to put in the blank space. So the 500,000 has been put in for us already. Now the 3 hasn't been. Now what is the 3? 3 what? Well, we've got our units, our tens, our hundreds, our thousands. It's our tens of thousands. Put the T at the front. Tens of thousands. So that means it's a 3 with 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we added all these together, 500,000 plus 30,000 plus 30 plus 90 plus 7, it would give us this answer. So this one's a bit more annoying. We've got 2 of them we need to put into place. So the number we've got here is 9,834,562. So again, think of those sections of 3. Well, the 562 is there. So the one that's missing is this 4, which is the 4 units, tens, hundreds, thousands. So put with 3 zeros. And then the one that is missing after the 30,000 is 800,000. 800,000. So very straightforward. You're just looking at the number. Again, it's just like partitioning it up. So the number we've got here is 4,305,872. We've got the 2. We don't have the tens, and there's 7 tens. So 70 needs to go in. And then we need this number at the bottom, which is the millions, which is our 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Always remember that for 6 zeros. Commas in, commas not in. I personally think it helps with the commas, splitting it into the sections of 3, because then you've got your hundreds, tens, units, and then your thousands, and then your millions. And now on to the final slide. So we've got to figure out, what does the digit 3 stand for in the number below. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to identify where the 3 is. So I've got my 3 here. So again, this is just place value and knowing what each of the numbers is worth. So remember, if there isn't anything, the decimal point is always here. So the decimal point always hides at the end. So my 8 here is going to be the units. And just work your way along. Tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, and finally hundreds of thousands. So you can write this. We have got 300,000 here. You can write this in 2 different ways. So in the answer, you could literally write 3, and then all the other numbers are going to be zeros. So there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So 300,000, or you could write it in words. We could write 300,000. Both of these ways are perfectly fine, because you've represented the number. What does the 3 stand for in the number below? It stands for 300,000, 300,000. And this number here, if you wanted to just make sure, is, if we do counting on our 3s, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, is 12,345,678. But you get this question where you need to identify just what one specific digit is worth. Let's look at 2 more examples. So what does the 1 stand for in the number below? Again, we've got our units, always decimal point at the end if there isn't one. Tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Then we've got our millions, and finally we've got our tens of millions. So this stands for 10 million. So you could just write 10 million, or you can write it as digits as we did above, where we'd have the 1, And then we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. 10 million. And the final one, what does the 4 stand for in the number below? Well, let's find the 4. Find the 4. Very straightforward. There is no decimal point. It's always had at the end. And the first number to the left is always the units. And then we've got our tens, hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands. So this would be 40,000. Or what you could do is you could simply write it in digit form. Put 4 and then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros after. So it all links together to all the previous skills that you have been looking at. Thank you for watching, and don't forget the free worksheet and answers in the description, or go to www.mathswithmrs.com.